Good morning, because it's still morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It's my duty and honor and privilege to be the chair of the next section. And my name is Miloš Řezník. I'm from the German Historical Institute at Warsaw, which is a part of Max Weber Foundation, Bonn. The representative of which will speak at the end of this section. In the team organizing the Congress, we have decided to have from the very beginning to have a section where we can see, look, discuss, ask what are the possibilities for Ukrainian scholars, for scholars dealing with Ukraine, researching Ukrainian, not only history, Ukrainian, different Ukrainian topics, to develop projects or to find possibilities to work and to develop projects, to be involved in European international cooperation, to settle things, to settle problems that we have as a consequence of the war, all of us. And so I'm very glad that we will discuss these things, these topics during two sections, one today, the next one tomorrow. And so there is a French-German saying, we shall the revue passieren. So we have get an overview of a part of possibilities. We have 4 countries for today, foundations from 4 countries: Lithuania, Poland, 3 countries, and Germany. We will start with the hosting country, with Research Council of Lithuania. We have 3 central research foundation from Lithuania, Poland and Germany. The first one is the Lithuanian Research Council of Lithuania. On behalf of this foundation, Laura Kostenickiene will now have the floor.
Your respective community, of course. I'm Laura Kostenickiene, and I have represented Research Council of Lithuania for the last 10 years, more than 10 years, of which more than a half are in close contact with SSH international community. I have been a part of program committees covering European Union and lately the Nordic region. From my standpoint, doing international practice, I can confirm that a lot of institutions around Europe and Nordic countries work very similar when we are talking about funding research. And over time, rules and funding possibilities are being improved and put in our laws or regulations if needed. Today I'm introduced possibilities for Research Council for Social Sciences and the Humanities at the Research Council of Lithuania. Lately, the RCL experiences significant transformation. Last year, the RCL truly fully merged with MITA, the Agency of Science, Innovation and Technology. From that long, the RCL has doubled its budget, has a bigger team and more tools for funding. Therefore, the RCL separates.
It's closer to the mic. Okay, could you talk closer to the mic?
Sure.
Yeah. So the translator can.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. So we merged with with NITA, and also with those changes, the RCL has developed 7 new priorities. So the first priority is participation in the formation of a country's science policy, facilitation of international competitiveness of the R&D system, ensuring the highest quality standards of scientific research, promoting growth of the country's scientific human potential, increasing the institution efficiency of the RCL. Effective communication between science, business, authorities, and society. Promotion and development of modern research and development infrastructure. We have over 30 financial means: top-bottom research, long-term, 5 national programs, bottom-up research, project initiated by researchers, support for researchers' career, mobility dissemination activities, support for transnational and international research and development cooperation. Annually, we have about 30 calls for proposals, special call to fund research activities of Ukrainian researchers and Lithuanian research and study institutions. Calls covering all career stages, including students, PhD, postdocs, early career researchers. International call according to bilateral programs. Participation in European co-funded partnerships and other coordinated scheme types calls. We are aiming of the highest quality standards, ensuring the quality of transparency and expert assessment, qualitative system of project selection, development of new competitive programs and tools, evaluation of research and development activities of research and study institutions, transfer of scientific knowledge to business sector and society, cooperation with partners. One of the main focuses is training young researchers by encouraging them to engage in scientific activities, improve their scientific qualification, and help them pursue career as a scientist. On this slide, you can find all the different funding for different stages of career, for students and in summer schools, or during school year, for PhD students, postdoctoral fellowship. It is the biggest of them of 20 million annual budget. After the outbreak of war, the RCL allocated an additional €2 million to the Lithuanian-Ukraine cooperation program. Around €2.3 million is foreseen to this program for 2022-2025. Rules now are flexible, budget is easily calculated. The only online proposal is simplified and can be submitted quickly. The funding decision is made in 1 month of applications, after application submission. It is also crucial to underline that lately we signed an MOU of joining the IMPRESS-U initiative, International Multilateral Partnership for Resilient Education and Science System in Ukraine, under United States of America Science Foundation, National Science Foundation, also in collaboration with the Ukrainian National Research Foundation. The program is started now. Research and education industry might benefit immensely from international cooperation. The RCL enables and encourages Lithuanian scientists and the institutions to avail themselves of opportunities to enhance the research and education programs through international collaboration. The RCL provides opportunities for future generation of Lithuanian scientists to gain experience and outlook they will need to function productivity in a global research and education environment. It might be done with the help of international joint projects under bilateral programs like Lithuania, France, Lithuania, Japan, Lithuania, Latvia, China, Taiwan, Lithuania, Poland, and other before mentioned like Baltic Research Program funded under European Economic Area and Norway grants. The duration of projects is about 2 or 3 years. It depends on the goal. Lithuania participates in European Union scientific research programs and initiatives which are implemented through the funding instruments of the program Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. More than 60 thematic areas initiated by the International Consortia of Aeronet, joint programming initiatives, European joint programs, initiated by national research funding institutions were financed by Horizon 2020 funds. The RCL administrates 11 of them, and we have 11 Aeronets and 3 more joint initiatives. Horizon Europe's Aeronet and other funding schemes are transforming European partnership programs. The joint efforts of the European Commission and partners from the private and public sector aim to implement research and innovation initiatives that will help solve the most important European challenges. Partnerships are one of the main instruments of Horizon Europe, which will significantly contribute to implementation of political priorities. Also, we will work with Nordforsk, the research funding organization of the Nordic Council of Ministers. We work in separate calls and connect the research and innovation funding institution, which also Nordforsk will connect with Denmark, Faroe Islands, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. We are partners and cooperating on separate calls since 2010. On the slide, you can notice 3 calls for proposals of the mentioned before programs like HERA for humanities, Northeast for social sciences, and Nordforsk green transition, more about climate change. Over a lifetime, Lithuania has participated in more than 800 cost actions, research and innovation networks, which helps connect research initiatives across Europe and beyond and enables researchers to grow their ideas in any science field by sharing them with their peers. Cost actions are 4-year bottom-up networks that boost research, innovation, and careers. Any interdisciplinary idea or the network might be submitted for funding. You just have to have 7 partners for the consortium. Funding is up to 500,000 euros for 4 years, and it's granted under a cost association under Horizon Europe. The RCL allocates additional funding to the cost coordinator from Lithuania, who submits scientific project for up to 240,000. I highlighted a few national programs. The most famous and the biggest one is has a bottom-up support, bottom-up approach, and it's called Research Groups Project. It's the biggest program, as I said, and lately we experienced a growth of the funding. Now we have 20 million annual budget. It is fully bottom-up. You can suggest any idea from any field. A new call will be open on September, later on September. Also for SSH, we have Lithuanian Study and Dissemination Program. It's almost one stage over. The program aims to develop fundamental and applied Lithuanian studies, scientific research, promote the renewal and internationalization of Lithuanian studies, assimilate modern research instruments, respond to challenge in society with new knowledge and ideas. Now, call is ongoing until October 4. have a new program which started this year. It calls Strengthening Social Resilience and Crisis Management in the Context of Contemporary Geopolitical Events. The program aims to comprehensively analyze assumptions, factors, opportunities, and disturbances of societal resilience and effective crisis management using relevant theoretical approaches and methodological tools of various scientific disciplines. The projects are financed with a state budget, and now we have now we have collected 68 proposals, and we have evaluation stage at the moment. So this is it. Those the main programs where you can find a little bit possibilities to participate as historians were mentioned here. Here we also can see other programs which is highlighted at the moment in Research Council. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can ask questions if there are any immediately to this presentation, and we shall see at the end of if we have time for a general discussion. But do you have questions? Are there any questions now at this moment? Immediately concerning this foundation. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ačiū a lot. And let me pass that micro over there to the next speaker, Magdalena Dobrzańska-Zoska, representing the National Science Center of Poland. Narodowe Centrum Nauki.
Exactly.
So,
good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here among the historians and to present National Science Center and the opportunities for international collaborative research projects. I'm working at the International Cooperation Department of our center. In my presentation today, first I will give you very basic information about our center, and then I will pass on to funding schemes that we find very important for historians, but also for Polish, Lithuanian and Ukrainian scientists, so they could cooperate together. Some very, very basic information about our center. National Science Center was set up in 2011. It is an executive government agency supervised by our Ministry of Education and Science. We support basic research that we understand as original experimental or theoretical research without any direct commercial application or use. How we support basic science in Poland? We support by announcing call for research proposals, and we support researchers at every stage of their research career. We support beginners just after the completing PhD thesis, and also the experienced researchers. We are also monitoring the implementation of research projects by verifying the annual reports and evaluating the final reports. As for the very basic statistics for the year,
in Germany we not only have the DFG, we have two other important funding organizations you might already have heard about. There is the DAD. The DAD funds mobility schemes mainly for students, but also for PhD candidates and staff exchange. We have the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. That's probably a funding organization that some of you well know. The Alexander von Humboldt Foundation funds people going abroad and also coming to Germany for a longer period, and what the DFG does is fund research projects. So we are not competing, these three funding organizations. We are rather, adding to each other, and this is where we would like to point you to the opportunities of DAD and A4H as well. The DFG as an organization was funded about 100 years ago. We are an association under private law. Our money comes from the ministry, but as an association under private law, we are politically independent. And our annual budget is about 3.6 billion euro. That's a whole lot of money, but this is also because one of the tasks of the DFG is to distribute money in fair competition to the universities. In 2022, we funded about 31,000 projects from all academic disciplines, and our head office in Germany has roughly about 950 employees. Most of them work in the area where academic proposals are proceeded, but of course we have other administrative unities as well that we need to cover with personnel. The DFG is the self-governing research funding organization in Germany. Interesting way of saying it maybe. What does it exactly mean? It means that within the DFG, it's not the organization DFG that decides. We organize review processes, but it's researchers that actually decide on your proposals and review boards that make the final decision on what, from an academic point of view, is worth to be funded. As already said, the DFG serves all fields of science and the humanities in competition. And we follow a strict bottom-up approach. That means researchers can decide by themselves what kind of topic from which academic discipline they are willing to hand in proposals. We don't set any political priorities. If we have priorities, some of the programs have priorities, the priorities are provided by researchers. This is what researchers think is important to do research on. Member organization, this is maybe a little bit besides the record, but might also be important to know. This is the reason why DFG mainly funds research at universities. We have all major academic research institutions in Germany as members. These members also discuss programs and future developments of the DFG, vote for the DFG presidents, and as you can see here, most of our members come from universities, and this is why universities in Germany are our largest clientele. Membership organization does not mean that institutions have to become a member at DFG to make their researchers eligible for our programs. It's more that members of the DFG can decide on the future of the DFG as the self-governing organization of science and research in Germany. A few facts and figures. As already said, the principle of the DFG is to fund research in a bottom-up principle, with no thematic priorities, no regional priorities, no political priorities, and hardly any deadlines. So most of our programs are open to be applied for at any time. You can hand in your proposal at any time. And we fund in competition, in a peer review process, and as already said, it's researchers in our boards and peer review system that eventually decides on what's going to be funded. Taking a look on our figures for 2022, you see that we give money to all academic disciplines. The life science traditionally have a high amount of money. This is not that we fund more life scientific projects. It is rather that life scientific projects are more cost intensively because usually they involve instrumentation, but as you can see, we also have quite a lot of projects from the humanities and social sciences under financiation, and this is where we extremely would like to encourage you to hand in proposals as well. An overview about what we fund. There is funding opportunities for, let's start the individual part. So we fund individual researchers with their individual research projects. We also have special programs to foster academic ideas from the very early level of a postdoctoral phase to the later level. There are programs that support these career stages. We have rather network-oriented programs and coordinated programs. Coordinated might be a bit misleading. Coordinated means doing research in larger research consortia. And we have particular programs for international collaboration. My colleague will explain a bit more later on. I would just like to focus on two of our general programs. The one is the Individual Research Grants Program. This is actually the program the DFG spends most of its funds on. The Individual Research Grants Program has to be handed in at a German university and would fund an independent research project of a duration of 36 months. So this is pretty similar to what my colleagues from NCN and the Lithuanian Research Council has already said about their basic programs. There is no deadline within the Research Grants Program. It is possible to finance staff that your individual research project needs, also equipment on a minor scale, and consumables, travel, instrumentation, publication costs, also public relations costs, and most important, this program would provide you with money for your own position as a PI in this project, so there you would get also your personal salary from. It has to be hosted at a German institution, so if you apply from outside of Germany, you should have already been in close contact to a German institution in order to eventually dock on your research project there. If you are already part of the German research system, that's probably natural where you would eventually go and host your project in Germany. Further information on this program can be found on the DFG deadline under the explained link, and I think the slides will be passed to, or would it be possible to pass our slides to people afterwards? Yeah, we are happy to do that, definitely. Okay. Okay. Review process, just to give you a quick idea. It is a three-step process that we usually have, especially for individual research projects. It starts with proposals that are handed in by you. They will be passed to at least 2 external reviewers, can be from Germany or from all over the world. We don't really distinguish anymore because we think it is important to choose a reviewer that matches best with the academic discipline or field that is presented in the proposal. Of course, there should not be a conflict of interest with the proposal. Then the projects will be passed to a subject-specific review board that decides in competition which projects of a particular academic field might be worth funding. And as a last step, the proposals of all academic disciplines are handed in to a joint committee who will eventually decide what has to be funded at one time. That's the general information. Now we'll pass over to Stefanie.
Thanks, Anina, for handing over to me. Again, my name is Stefanie Laff, and I'm working within the German Research Foundation, also in the Department for International Affairs. And I have a divided responsibility. I'm also working in the team of coordination of international research funding activities in the Department of Scientific Affairs. So my part is to tell you about how the DFG does promote international cooperation by showing the principles of international funding and selected principles. The DFG has a wide range of possibilities to support international cooperation of researchers in Germany and at German research institutions abroad. So researchers from Germany and German institutions abroad can submit a proposal with international collaboration in all DFG funding programs with researchers in any country, at any time, in any subject area, with no limitation as to the specific topic. Important to know is that all proposals compete with all other national or international proposals under the respective DFG procedure. But how can you cooperate with international researchers within the DFG funding scheme? There are various opportunities provided within the DFG funding portfolio. With the following slides, I will show you a selection of relevant options. So Anina told you about the individual research grants scheme. Within this funding scheme, it is possible to integrate international researchers in an existing project by applying for travel expenses, funding for visiting researchers, or the Mercator Fellows. Mercator Fellow is a funding opportunity to apply for guest fellowships, which enable intensive, long-term collaboration with visiting researchers from Germany and abroad. The grant program Initiation of International Collaboration aims to support the initiation of international research collaboration. Researchers who would like to establish research cooperation with foreign partners can apply for funds for trips abroad, guest visits, or bilateral workshops. It consists of the components exploratory workshops, project-related trips abroad, and project-related guest visits. Funding can include travel costs and daily allowance for traveling to the partner country, guests in Germany, needed specialists from third countries. The funding is available for maximum 1 year, and the application must be submitted by the German partner. This proposal option with co-financing is possible in the entire DFG funding portfolio at any time with international partners involving co-financing, which means the co-financing must or can be provided by funding organizations abroad or by alternative sources such as universities abroad. So that is the lead agency process. I think I do not have to explain this that much because my colleague from NCN explained it already to you. Just to mention, WEAV comprises 12 national research funders from 11 countries, 11 as there are 2 funding organizations in Belgium. Currently, the proposal submission is possible with DFG and the FWF in Austria, FWO and FNRS in Belgium, GATCHA in Czech Republic, NCN in Poland, SNF in Switzerland. And we expect in 2024 or 2025 to work together with HRZZ in Croatia, FORMAS in Sweden, and RCN in Norway. The last information I would like to give you on international cooperation from the DFG side are funding opportunities for refugee researchers, as there is the Walter Benjamin program, which enables researchers in the postdoctoral training phase to independently conduct their own research project at a location of their choice. The project can be carried out at a research institution in Germany or abroad, with the host institution provided support for the project. Funding abroad can only be provided if researchers are integrated into Germany's academic research system. This is the case if immediately prior or to submitting a proposal they have worked as a researcher in Germany for a continuous period of at least 3 years during their doctoral and or postdoctoral phase. If researchers are already based abroad, funding can be provided abroad if they have completed the majority of their schooling and higher education in Germany, as of proposal time have not spent more than 3 years abroad for research purposes after completing their doctorate in Germany or abroad. The funding can be up to 2 years. DFG covers position in the postdoc category plus 250 euros per month allowance. The host institution in Germany will be employee and covers remaining project costs. But the restriction of the target group to early postdoc phase doesn't apply for refugee researchers. This means there are no restrictions to the early career phase, And you can submit a proposal even when you're not in the early career phase. Then there is the opportunity of the supplemental proposal integration in current funding programs. All project leaders and also higher education institutions can submit supplemental proposals to integrate qualified refugees, prospective or doctoral researchers in DFG projects that already receive funding. Here you can apply for additional funding for the existing project for guest fund or staff position. And the third option is the special program for Ukraine. Here it is possible that applicants in Germany can apply under the existing DFG procedure cooperation with developing countries for funds to cover the living expenses of Ukrainian project leaders in a maximum amount of 1,000 euros per month per project leader for project implementation in Ukraine. The last thing I want to mention are our information systems. So all the information we have told you here, you can find on the website. We have two sections there. On the left side, here you can see that better now. There is a section of international funding opportunities, which should be the most important information for you. And on the left side, you can find some information on the international strategy by clicking through the website. And we provide an online database which is called GEPRIS, which provides a comprehensive overview of all DFD-funded projects. Here you can search for collaboration partners in Germany, and the catalog provides projects, people, and institutions. Yeah, and then we have the information system Garrett, which gives you an overview about 25,000 institutes at German universities and non-university research institutions. Here you can search for subject areas, geographical criteria, structural criteria, and all information are provided in German and in English. So which helps you to find a German collaboration partner. And last thing, thank you for your attention. When you have questions, you can contact Amina or me by email, or just give us a call. We provide also our online databases here. And yeah, thank you for your attention.
So, vielen herzlichen Dank for your coming and for your presentation. I appreciate the way you have your instructive way showing us what is to do. Also, if we want to apply, it's up to you to decide, or up to our audience. I've observed many of participants who are making photographs of the last slide. It's promising. Are there any questions at this moment? If it's not the case, you have already mentioned the German Historical Institutes abroad, and there are a couple of them doing research in the so-called Geisteswissenschaften, so humanities and a little bit social science. And the most important address is the Max Weber Foundation, your neighbors, or almost in one. The administrative director of the foundation is here among us, Harald Rosenbach. We present Max Weber Foundation.
Yes, thank you very much for the nice introduction, and thank you, organizers, very much for the invitation to this conference. I think, like the other speakers, I'm very proud to be here, and I really appreciate the privilege of having been invited, because it's conferences like this one and scholars like you who shape the thinking of the future. And this is a very historical transitional phase we are going through, and I think we always should be aware of this. And even in these talks, like, well, you're going to listen now, which are more dry and from an administrative perspective, we should be aware that this has a very serious background. Well, the Max Weber Foundation is a foundation. Actually, it's not a foundation at all, because usually you say foundations are private funded organizations because some rich guy has given his money to a foundation in order that the foundation does whatever it wants with the money. This is not the case with the Max Weber Foundation. We are funded by the German state, and were given the name after Max Weber a couple of years ago. And I would like to present you the framework in which our foundation works, and maybe you have become a bit curious already because Miloš told you, well, it's the German Historical Institute is part of the Max Weber Foundation, which is true, and we are very glad of that. But the Max Weber Foundation itself operates mainly in Germany. So the central office of the foundation is in Germany, and it operates certain institutes abroad, among others the German Historical Institute in Warsaw, which most of you are familiar with, I guess. The Max Weber Foundation has a legal mandate, which comes from 2002, when the German Parliament passed a law that founded the foundation. At that time we had 5 institutes. Nowadays we have 11 institutes worldwide in the humanities, and some institutes work on the social sciences as well, but they do not have to bother us today. All our institutes and the Max Weber Foundation as such considered itself to be part of the national and international research infrastructure, which is very important for us. We want to strengthen the German universities or the research in German universities, as most of our scientists, scholars, researchers do come from German universities and go back to German university as well. We support the research infrastructures surplus in certain countries, the open access, and of course we promote young researchers, which is a very important thing to do. How we do that I will linger on at somewhat later. Other non-university research in Germany have been mentioned already. Oops, oh, that was too fast. Have been mentioned already. The Max Planck Society, the Leibniz Association, the German Archaeological Institute, and the Academies of Sciences and Humanities. And systematically, the Max Weber Foundation belongs to this field of non-research universities. All in all, I have said so already, we comprise 11 institutes and many more projects abroad in, well, roughly 15 countries worldwide. The core of these institutes is in Europe, which is no coincidence, which is a result. The reason why these institutes in Europe is a very sad reason. This is the Second World War. And after the Second World War, especially in countries Germany had been at war with, these institutes had been founded. Starting with the 1950s in France, it was an initiative on a political level between Adenauer and de Gaulle. And then in the 70s in London, and then in the 80s continuing in Japan and especially in the United States. In the 90s, it was first of all after the turning down of the wall here in Eastern Europe, Central Eastern Europe, in Warsaw. These foundings all were deeply political, and we want to make sure to our partners that we want to go abroad and we want to collaborate with them. None of our institutes would exist without the help and the collaboration of the researchers in this country. So we want to go abroad and we want to stay abroad. And this gives us huge privileges because we have huge possibilities coming out of that. But sometimes we have huge problems due to this model as well, as I will explain later on. So, the universities. You may wonder that Germany can afford an organization like the Max Weber Foundation and these institutes abroad. And right, yes, this is something special, but also other countries afford these institutes like this. France even has two organizations, one financed by the Foreign Office and the other by the Ministry of Education and Research. The United Kingdom with the British Academy, the Netherlands with the Dutch Scientific Institutes abroad, and the USA with the Council of Overseas Research Institutes. Especially with the American and with the French partners, we collaborate very closely in other countries. And it's quite interesting that the farther you go beyond or abroad, and especially in Asia, it makes sense to collaborate with American or with other European partners. Well, the annual budget. This is a very boring slide, I admit. Comprised roughly 48 million euros per year. And this is money we have to gather every year once and again. Other German research organizations do get their money quite regularly and even an increase in money quite regularly. It's not the case with the Max Weber Foundation. We have always go to the ministry or to the politicians. And as I said in the beginning, we had to start in Europe with our institutes, and of course we want to increase our activities, well, which organization doesn't want to? And at one point of our negotiations, our partners in the ministry said, hey, what do you want? It's not always possible that the chancellor is a historian, like Helmut Kohl was. And Helmut Kohl was the one who decided that there should be an institute in Washington and one in Warsaw. That was a very personal decision. And unfortunately, he has been the only historian in German history so far. Of course, unfortunately, due to the cutbacks in German public funding, the third-party funding is increasing. The colleagues from the German research foundation are happy to hear that. The DFG contribution is increasing from year to year, but also the European funds are increasing. But by far the most third-party funding comes from the state as such. So the state, the German state, finances the institutes like universities plus certain projects. Sometimes this is a bit weird, I must admit, but well, this is it. Our foundation is governed by a board of trustees, Stiftungsrat, which comprises 11 members. Almost half of them are nominated by the Research Foundation, by the German Research Foundation. The others by the Humboldt Foundation, most of you know, or the Leibniz Association. Why do I tell you that? It's very important for us that all our administration, all our strategic thinking is decided by researchers and scholars. This is our unique selling point. Of course, other organizations do it themselves as well. But the thing with the Max Müller Foundation, with our governance, is we decide on the funding and operate at the same time institutes, projects abroad. So this academic self-control is a decisive element of our work. We have worldwide more than 400 employees, and out of these 400 are 130 scholars. That means that we have a lot of non-scientific staff. Percentage of women 54%, which is still rising and which is a good thing, especially among scholars and researchers. Percentage of local staff is rising as well. We started 20 years ago with maybe 10%, 15%. Now we are more than 50% of our staff comes from the country the institute is situated in. And in addition to this, we offer fellowships as well. This is more than 230 fellows per year, which puts us on rank 3, I think, in the all-German context after the German Research Foundation and the DAD, but even before the Humboldt Foundation, which makes us a bit proud as well. Right, one of our institutes, I can't repeat it often enough, now is with Miloš Řezník, the German Historical Institute in Warsaw. And it is important because it took a leading role now, and now I'm coming to the present and our challenges we are facing now in Europe, which took a leading role after the Russian attack on Ukraine. And these challenges, here once again the single institutes with, in comparison. But, I wanted to tell you a bit about the challenges we are facing now in Europe and worldwide. In Europe, after the Russian attack on Ukraine, we terminated all collaborations with Moscow immediately, and we took care of the single Ukraine colleagues in Kiev. We do not have an institute in Ukraine, but some Ukrainian scholars took part in some projects we had in the Ukraine, participating or collaborating with Moscow. One of these projects is Soviet Survivors. Maybe some of you have heard about that, which is a transnational project, and Ukraine took part of that. So we tried then to get out of Kiev at that moment. After a couple of months, they went back because they wanted to. We have several initiatives of the German Historical Institute in Warsaw, and nobody else but Miloš Řezník could explain them. And we funded these measures by extra money, which was very important for us. We made sure that Ukrainian colleagues could get travel grants to enable them to do research abroad, outside of Ukraine, in one of our host countries of the Maxima Foundation. And we started new activities in the Baltics. We are strengthening our office here in Vilnius. And we started activities in Georgia, which started actually a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So this is our problem, or what we are facing right now in Europe, and of course worldwide. The world has turned upside down, as we all know. Last year, worldwide, we are facing massive geopolitical changes almost everywhere. And this leads us, well, as I said, I'm a pure, simple administrator. This leads us to day-to-day problems in administration. Oops, no, that was not what I wanted to show. This is, all of a sudden, we have legislation in several countries that limits freedom of research. All of a sudden, we have problems in certain countries that restricts visa. And all of a sudden, we have constellations in certain countries that actually makes it almost impossible to stay. First of all, this is Moscow, as I said, which will be restructured totally. And the Board of Trustees, our big governing body, as I said, will decide on the future in 2 months. But this will be escorted by ideas. Well, what can we do after the war? Where can we put our energy, or where can we channel our energy? This will be a very interesting discussion, and Miloš and his colleagues will be a very, very active part of this. And this leads me to the end, and I'm happy to answer your questions if there are any. Otherwise, thank you very much.
So, thank you very much. And now you have the occasion and possibility to ask questions immediately concerning the Max Weber Foundation and strategies and possible, yes, different forms of collaboration and support. At the same time, we can start general discussion. I would encourage you to ask from the perspective of researchers and scholars. What are the obstacles? What are the problems? What are the issues? Then later, but please ask your question because Jakob Wallenstein from Konrad Adenauer Foundation was finally not able to join us, unfortunately. So we have now no time enough left for questions. So the first one is over there, and maybe I will pass the micro, and then are you?
Who was the first? This one.
Я задам питання українською мовою, сподіваюся, перекладачі перекладуть. Дуже насправді цікавий проєкт і підтримки багато наукових досліджень. Я хотіла задати запитання з приводу, чи не плануєте в Україні відкривати
Could you wait just for a second? I'm going to give the headphones for the translation of this film. Okay? Just a second.
Так, пане Якове, дякую вам за таку чудову презентацію і насправді дуже багато актуальних актуальної підтримки сьогодні для України. Ми побачили, що представництв у вас дуже багато насправді по всьому світу, і питання полягає в наступному. Чи не плануєте відкривати в Києві чи взагалі в якомусь іншому місці України ваше представництво вашого фонду? Дякую.
So we are collecting the questions.
Thanks. So my question is the same. Do you plan to open some activities in Ukraine? Of course, it's understandable that right now its situation in Ukraine is a little bit dangerous, but academic institutions and research institutes still work, and it's possible to work today in Ukraine. Of course, it's some problem with access to archives, museum, and other collections, but a lot of archives open, a lot of different institutions open, so it will be good for Ukrainian academia, society, and community support Ukrainians not only from abroad but also from Ukraine. And of course, for some Ukrainian city, it's possible to work more freely, like for example in the Transcarpathian region, in Uzhhorod, or in some western part of Ukraine, or for example in Chernivtsi. So it's possible to work free without some threats. So what is your plan?
Thank you very much. I hope this covers the first question as well.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I wasn't I wasn't able to manage with the translator. Well, thank you very much for the question. What is the plan? In 2 months' time, I would be able to tell you a bit more. The thing is that at the moment, right now, and this will change not within the next months, unfortunately, we will not be able to establish formal collaborations in the Ukraine. As long as the war is, I mean, we had, in the time I've been with the Maxima Foundation, we have evacuated our institute in Beirut due to the Israeli invasion in 2006. We had to evacuate our institute in Tokyo due to Fukushima. So these were problems we do not want to repeat without need. And this is why we would like to think twice. We will do something, this is promised, definitely, but we will discuss it very, very closely. Apart from that, of course, already now, there are collaborations through our institutes, through Warsaw, first of all through Warsaw, but all other institutes have possibilities as well. So if there are Ukrainian researchers working on Western Europe, whatever, they are invited to contact our institutes in Paris. We have 2 of them there, in London, in Italy, or in the US, whatever. So please do not hesitate and contact them. Can I carry out my research within your scope of research? And if you are convincing, you can do it wherever you want, wherever it makes sense for this project. This is an answer I can give you right now. Something completely different is the formal decision, now we go abroad to Kiev. This relies on the political circumstances, this relies on legal circumstances. We have an institute in London, just to show you the complications, which have never been registered. Nobody asked for this until the Brexit came out. And all of a sudden, we have a problem with our institute in London. Nobody thinks of taking it back, no way. But all of a sudden, the British authorities think it might be quite useful to raise more taxes from European organizations. And this makes all in all 200,000 euros for us, we have to pay more just to do the same in Britain. So why am I telling this? This formal registration is absolutely essential for everything else. And this is something we can responsibly do only under formally stable conditions.
Sorry, if I can give you small tips. We have in Ukraine some sentence about state in smartphone. So we are trying moving different spheres to digital, not only digitalize our archives, our museum funds, and so on, and collections. So maybe you need to think about creation some virtual institutions in Kyiv, for example. Of course, it will exist only like digital some initiative, but in future I hope after our victories they will be great in Rio. But start from this moment the activity in Europe, in Poland, in France, in UK, in US. So that doesn't matter. So maybe you also need to think about go to digital.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. We'll do that. Definitely.
But you are forgetting one important thing. Digitalization. Germany is much less developed than Ukraine. That's not, it's due to us, but I think to sum up the answer, I think it's obvious how things will be done, should be done. The question is rather not whether, but what exactly should that be, and we are heading for discussions in two months, and we shall see and know more. But and you know, from my perspective, that's a great change. Some 10 years, because I've been since 9 years, been for 9 years in Max Weber Foundation. It would have been, I believe, unimaginable that the new institute could be established in Europe, because there was only one institute in West Asia, one is in Japan, no institute in Africa, no institute in Latin America, and so on and so on. So the idea to establish a new institute in Europe is a result of the aggression, of the war against Ukraine. But we have a group in Warsaw, that's the virtuality. We have a research, Řeznická perspectiva, research perspective Ukraine with 7, at the moment 5 or 6 colleagues. I'm glad that 3 of them are sitting here in the room, and this is the other case. We are now discussing what that should be after the 2 years in one or another way that should be continued. So, are there any other questions?
Why do you support collaboration with Russia research? Before on the page, your map, is witnesses about your cooperation with Russian researchers.
Why we collaborate with Russia? Well, the thing is that the institute in Russia was founded in the 2005 due to an initiative of private foundations. And this was the result of the belief that Russia, as one of the states coming out of the Soviet Union, was so important that should, I can I say it, should do the same as it has done in the US and in Italy and so on. So this was the initiative of Zeit Foundation and the Co-Foundation, two private ones, and the government, the German government, promised that when the research agenda would convince an independent body, they would step in and fund it institutionally. That was in 2009. And since then, we have this institute. And as I said, when we take the decision to go abroad, we stay there. And all the money we give to this institute is, stays within this institute. And nobody, at least not in Bonn, could imagine that, well, what happened in the end. But this is the fact. And well, right now we have this situation, which is sad enough. And I can only explain why we have this institute. And this institute has done a lot of good things, no doubt about that. For political and very, very obvious reasons, we stopped this collaboration. But I would like to add something else, which is very important for me. We have very dear colleagues in Russia. And I know this is a forum here which, well, where it is maybe very difficult to put emphasis on. But these colleagues are very open Democrats and have their own strong feelings about what happened. Some of these local staff immediately after the Russian attack on Ukraine emigrated to other places. This is not what you... Sorry? Oh. Okay, they immigrated to other countries, and one of these colleagues, he's, well, in his 60s, he said the very first sentence when he entered my office in Bonn was, "Now I know how you Germans felt in 1945." Saying he was deeply ashamed of what had happened. By the way, he was half Ukraine. By the way, his mother is Ukraine and she lives in Moscow and is a Putin supporter. So this is so complicated, so complex. But what I want to say is that these institutes are places where free research can be carried out. And this is on all places the same. Now in Moscow, things have turned out in a way nobody of us, at least in Bonn, could have foreseen it. But this is now the way it is, and we have to cope with the situation. I'm very, very sorry for this, but we will take our consequences, definitely.
But besides of this problematic, that's a very important question. Looking at the time before the outbreak of war, 2014 or 2022, the freedom of research is very important value in the Max Weber Foundation, but that should not mean that we will not do any research about, on and in the countries with limited freedom or with no freedom of research, because we have to know something about the societies, about the cultures, and also political system. The same. It's true for China or other countries. But of course, the outbreak of the war changed the situation dramatically. It's a very dramatic way. Are there any other questions? Polina Waryńska.
Я все-таки хочу продовжити тему Німецького історичного інституту в Києві. Я хочу продовжити тему Німецького історичного інституту в Києві, оскільки, наприклад, Німецько-Українська комісія істориків, вона цю ініціативу вже неодноразово порушувала, піднімала, і в нас не було бойових дій в Києві з 2014 року, і ми це питання піднімали, але, на жаль, фонд Макса Вебера на це не відгукнувся. І дуже правильно сказав Милош Речнік про важливість свободи досліджень. І я можу сказати, що всі архіви в Україні відкриті. І значна частина документів, які є утаємничені в московських архівах, в російських архівах, їх копії, їх дублікати, їх циркуляри є в українських архівах. І вони відкриті для доступні для всіх дослідників. Звісно, можливо, ви не можете своїх...
I will sum it up in German, so please continue.
Можу продовжити. Звісно, з питань безпеки ви не можете певну частину німецьких співробітників відправити в Київ, але їхня резиденція тимчасово може бути в Бонні, в Німеччині, в Берліні. Співробітники в українських архівах працюють, і вони можуть надавати електронні копії документів для тих же резидентів, які будуть знаходитись. Я також думаю, що відкриття цього інституту тепер, прийняття цього рішення через 2 місяці, це було б дуже важливим також символічним знаком підтримки свободних і демократичних досліджень. Ми в Україні не маємо, як історики, абсолютно ніяких вказівок і переслідувань, які теми ми маємо досліджувати, чи які ми не маємо досліджувати. Ми не маємо вказівок, як ми маємо писати. Тобто ми маємо свободу цих досліджень, ми маємо велику свободу доступу до архівів. І, на мою думку, як вже сказав Андрій Когут, який, до речі, очолює архів Служби безпеки України, де величезний масив відкритих документів, ми могли б багато чого робити віртуально. Дякую.
Yes, thank you very much. Digitalization, this is the magic word. Of course, this is all possible, and we will consider this very seriously, and something will come out of this. But as I said, I'm just responsible for
So please do not look away from the email from Svetlana Balakovets today in the evening. And it was actually my announcement before the lunch break, and Miloš, I guess the last word is yours.
What have I to add? That's the question. I was impressed by Whiting, positively impressed by Whiting during the presentations and discussion. There was a very little speech of the help or support for Ukraine, knowing that whatever we are doing it at the same time for us, and that we are in duty towards Ukraine. So European countries are obliged not to help. So I would not call it help or support, but collaboration in the own interest of every European country, society, scientific community. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation, for your interest, for your discussion. We will continue. We are at the starting point still of the whole Congress, and this section of presentations we will continue tomorrow at 9 a.m. And now we have some 2 hours. About 2 hours break for lunch. We will split in groups in different rooms in the afternoon. Please find a way to the proper room. And yes, have a nice day, have a nice afternoon, and see you again. Thank you very much.